Why buying a home still pays off in the long run. Hey guys, it's Les with the Les Walden Real Estate team again, and I'm here because I have people say things to me all the time about renting versus buying. So why does buying a home still pay off even with all these higher interest rates and higher prices in the long run? Well, let's talk about it a little bit. Well, renting, it can feel less expensive and easier, right? You just go find a place, you sign a piece of paper, you move in, and you start paying rent. But renting doesn't help build your financial future at all. Homeowners' wealth grows just by owning a home. So let's talk about renting versus owning. So the key difference is real simple. When you make your rent payment, it goes straight to the owner and it's gone. You just pay your rent. When you own a home and you make that payment, part of the payment comes back to you in the form of principal reduction, or we call that equity. So as the home increases in value and you pay down your loan amount, your net worth, your wealth continues to increase, making you a wealthy person. Renting may seem more affordable, but in the long term, it really misses the target because you're not building any wealth. So First American recently analyzed renting versus owning, and they picked 4 times in the past. So 2006, which was the start of the housing bubble, if you're old enough to remember that. That's when values did go down. 2015, that's just 10 years ago, right? We can all do that math. 2019, which is just before the pandemic struck. And then 2022, when mortgage rates jumped up. They looked at those 4 time frames and compared renting to buying. If you rented a home starting in 06 versus buying a home in 06, rented a home in 15 versus buying a home in 15, and so on. In each time frame, 2 things were true. Renters lost money and homeowners gained money. So the takeaway from that is time owning a home builds your wealth, time renting does not. It is just that simple. So you might be saying, well, owning a home seems out of reach for me. And that's fair. I hear you. But the past few years, they haven't been easy for buyers, but things are starting to get better. Interest rates are starting to come down. Housing price increases are starting to moderate. Now, make sure you understand what I said there. I didn't say home prices were starting to fall. The amount of increase in a year's time, instead of doing this, is more right here. So they're starting to moderate. So buying certainly hasn't suddenly become easy, but it has become easier. And again, long run data shows that it is worth it to go ahead and buy your home. The bottom line is this: renting may feel less expensive today, but owning is what builds real wealth over time. And with the affordability starting to improve, the path to home ownership may be opening up more than you think. So if you're curious about buying, what it could look like for you, reach out to us here at Les Walden Real Estate. We'd love to have that conversation. Look at, is now the right time for you to move into that buying mode versus that renting mode?